Behind me is a trail that is infamous for mountain lion attacks. In fact, it's closed down quite often because of mountain lion attacks. There's even somebody who was killed and partially eaten by a mountain lion here. There's plenty of warning signs. I still hike here all of the time. Why? Because viscerally I am scared. I have fear of being attacked by a mountain lion, but my rational brain knows that statistically I have more of a chance of winning Powerball, dying in my bathtub, being killed by a dog, or more likely getting killed on the way to the trailhead than being killed by a mountain lion out on the trail. And even if I'm attacked, there's only a 15% chance that that outcome will result in a fatality, and a lot of that is under my control, which is a good thing. I'll take those odds. So I interviewed some zookeepers at the OC Zoo where they have mountain lion rescues, and according to them, if a mountain lion really wants to attack you, you probably won't even see it coming. They typically hunt at night, eating ideally a deer, but they're opportunistic and will eat anything smaller, usually rabbits, rodents, even sometimes things like coyotes. And that's why this area is so popular with mountain lions, because there are a ton of mule deer here in this narrow strip of land around water. Now, I wouldn't hike here probably with a dog or a little kid because they look like prey. But if I did encounter a mountain lion here, it's not always going to result in a mountain lion attack. Look at this video from a nearby area. This guy is on the trail and the mountain lion just kind of walks by him. I've seen lots of videos like this. If you do encounter a mountain lion and you think it's threatening you, what you want to do is you want to stand tall. You want to look like you're not prey. If you run away from a mountain lion, you will tell that mountain lion immediately that you are prey. So don't run away, stand your ground, stand tall, tell yourself that you can fight back and survive this. Tell yourself there's only a 15% fatality rate. It's not a death sentence, and get ready to fight. Pick up rocks, sticks, use your trekking poles, whatever it might be. If that animal attacks you, fight back until it gets off of you. If you want a tool to protect yourself against mountain lions, get some bear spray. Bear spray works on any mammal that has a nose or eyes. Practice with it, get it ready to deploy. There's videos of people using bear spray, but as long as you can get that in the nose or eyes of the mountain lion, you should be okay. And it's not really mountain lions that you should be worried about. If you look at fatalities from animals across the board here, at least in the States, a lot of them come from animals like moose and elk and deer. And you can go to the Torrens of National Parks Instagram site and see plenty of examples of those types of animals getting aggressive with humans that get too close. Interesting facts, the only known or recorded human fatality in Yosemite from an animal is from a deer. In 1977, a kid got his lung punctured from an antler. Story was that he was feeding the deer and then he ran out of food and the deer got aggressive with him. So, you know, not what you think, but overall what you want to do, whether it is a mountain lion or an elk or anything, is you want to give it room. You always want to give it room, and that's my number one tip in terms of wildlife. Always give the wildlife a wide berth. Don't go up, don't interact with it. Certainly do not feed it. Feeding wildlife, especially something like a bear, almost guarantees that that wildlife will have to be put down because it will be habituated to getting fed by humans. That said, there are animals that have killed hikers, and let's talk about bears, right? In all my encounters with bears, black and grizzly bears, there's always been one of two outcomes. One is that the bear runs away, two is that the bear ignores me. And I think for most people, that's what happens all the time. But bears do attack. Generally, black bears are more docile. You can find black bears pretty much all over the United States. Humans are not prey for bears, but bears will attack you if they feel they're threatened, like if they have cubs and you're too close, they will attack you. Now, what you want to do for a black bear is that you want to do what you did for a mountain lion. You want to stand tall. You want to look, like you're not prey, like you're going to fight back, and get ready to fight back. If you have to fight back, you fight back. And of course, when you're in bear country, it's smart to carry bear spray with you. Once again, learn how to deploy it, practice with it, and get comfortable with it in case you need to pull it off quickly. It's good just not for bears, but every kind of mammal, including humans. Now, grizzly bears have a more limited range, more limited habitat. We're talking about Alaska and parts of the Rockies. For a grizzly bear, what you want to do, and grizzly bears, I've never had a grizzly bear run away from me. Black bears all the time, grizzly bears no. grizzly bear, you're going to want to lay down and play dead. Spread your legs out so that you can't be flipped over. Put your hands over the back of your head and neck, and maybe scoot your backpack up if you have one on. People have been attacked by grizzly bears even when doing that, and in that case, you fight back. And again, pick up anything that you have, rocks, sticks, trekking poles, anything you can do. Obviously attack for the eyes and the face to get it away from you. But again, it's statistically so rare that something like this happens. Give them space and you should be okay. Now, there's one exception to this that I've almost gotten into trouble with a few times, and that is venomous snakes. Now, venomous snakes are tough. They don't attack humans. They're not coming after you as prey, but you can easily step on them. They're very well camouflaged, and many times, not even with headphones in, just walking, not paying attention to my footing on the trail, I've almost walked directly into a rattlesnake or stepped on it. Rattlesnakes want to get away from you. If you do have them cornered, they can sort of lunge at you and get you. Also beware if you're climbing or scrambling up rocks or whatever. I have come face to face with snakes before climbing, but in general, if there's a snake in the path, give it time to leave. You can go around it if you can, and you should be okay. Now, if you do happen to get bit by a snake, know that not all venomous snake bites actually release the venom. It depends. There's no hard percentage, but it doesn't always mean you have the venom in you. But there's a tool that I highly recommend. It's called the GUIDEWITHGOES Health app. It's an app for your phone, and it saves all of these questionnaires offline on your phone. So if something like this happens in the backcountry, you can go through and answer some questions about what happened. In this case, look at the snake one. You can go through and answer some questions like, what was the snake? And do this questionnaire. It'll tell you what to do to resolve it. Now, one of the founders of this app is the same guy who founded the first wilderness medicine program at Stanford. And the idea was to take all of that information, put it into this offline form so that you can get the help. And it's not just snake bites, it's all kinds of things like altitude sickness, getting injured, whatever it might be. And this is a great way to have this type of information. And just a note, there are other apps that do this, but this GUIDEWITHGOES Health app is the best. It's won awards because it's a very easy way to diagnose the symptoms and go through these questionnaires. And just think about if you've been bit by a snake and you're tired and you're in the backcountry and you're worried, you're not going to want to dig through a bunch of text. You want to just go through a visual questionnaire like this to get to the source. They also offer another service. You can call in to wilderness medicine experts and get their opinion and diagnosis, but obviously you don't have cell phone signals everywhere in the backcountry. That's probably going to change in a year or two, so this will be even a more valuable tool then, but it's called the GUIDEWITHGOES Health app. I'll put a link to it underneath the video. Just want to break in real quick. The folks at GUIDEWITHGOES Health have been very generous, and if you have any questions you'd like to ask Dr. Grant Lippman, who's the wilderness medicine guy, post them in the comments below. I'll also be doing a live stream Q&A with him on this channel. Details for that below this video. So any questions about wilderness medicine, ask away. Being killed by an animal is definitely sensational, but I see more hikers dying from something that's a lot more mundane, weather-related, and that is the heat. And I can tell you from experience that hiking in 90-degree weather is much different than hiking in 70-degree weather. It takes so much more out of you, and every year I see hikers dying from heat-related problems in places like the Grand Canyon, Big Bend, Joshua Tree, Death Valley. It happens all the time, and you have to take it seriously. You have to respect the limits. You can't think this is not going to happen to me. If it's too hot, just don't go out and hike. You have to be respectful of that. I also see a lot of people dying of what they call medical problems like heart attacks and stuff. Usually it's going to be like a male that's older, and I see that happening a lot of the time when it's hot out anyway, right? And I don't know if there's a correlation there, but obviously if you're putting your body under a tremendous amount of strain in the heat, you're going to be more susceptible to things like that. On the other end of the spectrum, we have the cold. You don't see a lot of hikers dying of exposure, but what I do see is people doing hikes that they might have done in the summertime that might be just nice in the summer, but in the wintertime, the steep slopes make it more of a mountaineering exercise, and they slip and they fall. A slip and a fall on a dry trail on rock, you'll maybe go a couple feet and stop. Doing that on ice and snow, it could be hundreds if not thousands of feet, and your chances are higher of hitting your head, dying, getting stuck somewhere. So in the winter time, stay off of the steep slopes, check the avalanche report, know what you're getting into, or have that training for mountaineering to do that. One of the cool things about this GUIDEWITH Health app is that it also has weather reports, because it knows, people in wilderness medicine know that a lot of injuries and problems are weather related. So you can get this offline weather report, you can get it for multiple locations. And the neat thing about it, because you can get a weather report anywhere, but the neat thing is that it will give you the possible conditions and possible dangers to your health based on that weather report. So if it's heat related, it'll give you a heat related one. It even has things like altitude sickness if you look for like a high altitude destination. So very helpful. And again, this GUIDEWITH Health app allows you to not only potentially resolve anything, but maybe even be proactive about what you might encounter so that you can prepare for it, or at least know the risks. So that's important. And again, they hit it out of the park on that one, on that GUIDEWITH Health app. The outdoors is not the place to push past your limits. If there's a mentality, no pain, no gain, it might be fine in the gym, running a marathon where you have ambulances on standby, but when you're out in the wilderness, getting rescued could be a matter of hours, normally is, could be also a matter of days. So it's not the place to get hurt or need help or push past your limits in that way. I see this all the time with altitude sickness, which can be deadly, can kill you, has killed people. I see people maybe getting a permit for something like Mount Whitney for one day. They've tried really hard, and now they are pushing through their altitude sickness, through the headache, through the nausea, through the disorientation, and it is a problem, and they get really sick. I recommend watching this video by Hiking with Mike, where they encounter somebody has severe altitude sickness and they have to be airlifted out. It's really enlightening in terms of what that can do you, because you might just think it's a headache, but it can basically put you down. So don't push past your limits. Likewise, respect signs, stay on the trail. There's one big cause of death, it's slips and falls. Now, slips and falls, if you've hiked for a long time, you're not really slipping off a trail and falling thousands of feet to your death. Trails aren't really like that. I see people falling and dying when they go off trail. Maybe they're checking out a waterfall or something. I see this all the time, people going past these warning signs. So you don't want to do that. If you stay on the trail, generally you're going to be fine. That also goes for drowning too. A lot of people drown. That's another leading cause of death. Not necessarily, I think, for a hiker, but I see that in the national park statistics. People are going past those lines and they're falling in the water. This happens all the time at Yosemite. They actually have specially trained swift water search and rescue people at Yosemite, because they go past the line, right? But you slip on some wet granite in the water, and 100 feet down, you're going over a waterfall. And also getting lost. Always have a plan about where you're going. Always share that plan with a loved one. You can just send them the link to a web page or an All Trails page. Let them know what time you're going to be back. They don't have to wait 24, 48 hours to contact anyone. If you're supposed to be back at 7 and it's 8, they can call and get people out looking. But knowing what trail you're on or think you're on is going to help that search and rescue exponentially, as opposed to just doing a wide search pattern in a wide area, as is carrying something like a satellite communicator or a phone that has satellite capabilities. A headlamp is going to help, and the essentials, all of those things, being prepared in the outdoors will increase your chances of survival. Now, if you're hiking, the biggest chances of you dying don't actually come from being on the trail. They come from driving to and from the trail. Chance of an auto accident, death on the road is much, much higher than any of those other ones we mentioned earlier. And I mentioned that to put those other ones in perspective. I have hiked thousands of miles and never have had any sort of problem in terms of fearing for my life. I've encountered wildlife, all of that. As long as you give wildlife a wide berth, you're prepared, you know where you're going, you're respecting your limits, you're respecting the environment, any park warnings, you should be okay. Hiking is not a risky sport or activity. It's not mountaineering. It's not